Hey, Marc Millan here. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. I hope you're doing really good. I thought I'd hop on here to talk about the topic of communication. Communication is probably at the top of the list for a leader and their effectiveness in their role. We communicate all the time. Not only are we in meetings where we're communicating, but when we're having one-on-ones with our people and our leaders, we communicate via email, we communicate via text. When we're in front of our teams, we're constantly using words to drive ideas and inspiration into our team. So communication is vital and crucial to anyone who is in a position of leadership or a person who has influence over an area or a department. So I think it's going to be helpful for us to talk about this today. I want to give you 3 practical things, but I want to, before that, just kind of set the groundwork why I believe communication is so vital to a leader's role. You may not know this, but I studied communication in college. It's actually the degree that I have is a Bachelor's of Arts in Communication and Public Speaking. I was terrified of speaking in public, absolutely terrified. Never knew what to say, felt very overwhelmed, used to get very, very nervous in front of people, and I was pursuing a career in music, which led to some opportunities in leading worship. And usually you would always say something before you would sing a song, and I would be so terrified of those moments right before I would sing that I decided that when I went to college, I was going to study communications so I could get over it, number one, and then begin to use it to my advantage in what God was calling me to do. And so here's the 3 things I think is so important about communication, and then I'll give you the 3 applications. The first thing is it's casting vision. Casting vision is that anchor that pulls the whole team towards the center of what they're always supposed to be doing. So that anchor, meaning the vision of a team, has to constantly be communicated in a way that's inspiring, because leadership is about influencing people towards a result. You can give information all day, but if people don't get inspired to do it, you're not really influencing them. You're probably just using your authority to make them do it. And when people feel made or obligated to do something, usually they give you less than their full potential. So influencing people requires casting vision in a way that's inspiring. So giving vision is probably at the top of the whole thing with communication. The other thing that I think is vital for communication is it helps get things done. When people have to wait or they don't know what they're supposed to do, a lot of things fall into procrastination. A lot of people delay what they should be doing simply because they're waiting for things to be communicated to them. So I think that's the second impact that communication has on a team. They're usually waiting to get clarity and vision, and it can delay a lot of things from getting done. And then the third thing, I think it really impacts delegation. When you're delegating something to someone, how you communicate makes all the difference in the world. If I kind of cut corners and just tell you what to do, but I rob you of understanding why we do those things and the important opportunity that you have when you're doing those things, it really robs you of giving all that you have to offer when I'm handing it over to you. So casting vision, getting things done, delegation, I think those are the 3 areas that, or the 3 most obvious areas that communication comes into play. So let me give you 3 practical things that I would say when you're communicating as a leader. Number 1, clarity. What you're aiming for is clarity. Now, there is a difference between certainty and clarity. Sometimes I've noticed that leaders will wait till they're absolutely certain about something to then communicate to their teams. And I want to tell you, that's a huge mistake. In fact, if you will do a little bit of research in what I would call trauma situations, FBI negotiations, the way the FBI actually tests the agents is by putting them through situations of trauma. And the highest stressors of trauma is the unknown of a situation. When they do studies on how much stress a family feels, let's say one of their family members gets abducted, the highest stressor is the fact that they don't know when it's going to end. So they train FBI agents, believe it or not, to constantly call the families just to give them an update. Even if the update is, hey, we're calling you to tell you nothing has changed. Just that alone, and then they might say, and we're gonna call you in 3 hours, or we're gonna call you once a day to give you an update. Just that alone shifts their stress significantly. So I say that because you might fall into the category of like, I'm gonna wait till I'm certain before I communicate. I would tell you, aim for clarity first, not certainty. Clarity can be, I don't have an answer for you right now, but once I do, I'm gonna get back to you. Or give me 2 days and I'll get you an answer, or I'll update you with an answer. You might wait 2 days and you might still update them and say, I don't have anything new to tell you, and I'm gonna check in once a day until I have something to tell you. Whatever those parameters are, at least you're aiming for clarity. Teams long for clarity. If you want to reduce the stress factor on your team, I would say be clear about what you know as soon as you know it. Just be clear about it. Don't wait for certainty, aim for clarity. Number 2, I would say paint the picture. Paint the picture. Believe it or not, we are interesting creatures. We understand things through stories. I tend to use metaphors when I can, or when I'm trying to make an abstract idea clear. Remember, clarity. When I'm trying to make an abstract idea clear, I tend to use stories. Our brains are wired to help us tell stories to ourselves. When we don't understand something, we create our own narratives. This is research you can do as well. But since we create our own narratives, we understand things through stories. That's why movies and books and novels, that's why they're so powerful. Videos, they're so powerful to us because we are drawn to understanding life through stories. So when you are casting vision and trying to do it in a clear way, I would say paint the picture. When you're communicating, try to paint the picture. Don't just give statistics or facts. Try to tether it to a real picture, because once a person understands something in the form of a picture and they can attach an emotion to it, you will get strong responses from that. So I would say that's number 2, is paint the picture. And the third thing I would say that's really, really important when you're communicating is get them to mirror back what you just said. This is important. For some reason, when we communicate, since it's in our own heads, we think we've said it as clearly as possible. And sometimes our facial expressions, maybe it's the wrong story we share, maybe it's the wrong tone, but oftentimes when we communicate, we think we've done our part. But in reality, that person now has to process what we've said in their own filters, their own personal biases and fears. And a lot of times they can come to different conclusions. So I've found it very effective when communicating to ask the other person to mirror back what I just said, just so I can test whether I was clear in communicating my ideas. So I'll say something like, okay, can you repeat back to me what I just shared with you? And usually if they do that and I feel like, yep, okay, great. Or at least at that point I could go, actually, I was trying to say this. Does that make sense? Okay, repeat back to me what I think we're trying to accomplish here. And when we're both able to come to that point where we can see the picture together, then I know we're ready to move forward. So those are my 3 things I think can help you when communicating. Aim for clarity, paint the picture, and then number 3, get them to mirror back what your goals are. I hope that helps you, again, as a leader, and I hope that every time you communicate, you inspire people to go after it with everything that they have. Until next time, from my heart to yours.